Big 12 softball media days are live. Let's do this. Streaming on ESPN+, BYU TV, and the Big 12 Fast Channel from the Big 12 studios, wherever and however you're connected. Great to have you with us. I am Spencer Linton, and joining me on the desk is Olympic gold medalist, three-time NCAA Player of the Year, and one of the greatest pitchers in the history of the sport, Kat Osterman. Kat, great to have you with us.
So glad to join you and be able to talk Big 12 softball. Obviously, living Big 12 softball for so long, 20 years ago now, but I bleed for the Big 12, so I'm happy to be here.
Also joining us on the desk, a two-time All-American, Oklahoma State great, and current member of the USL's Utah Talons, Rachel Becker. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk to some of these coaches and teams, have some great competition in the Big 12 this year, and I just can't wait to get the season started.
Let's hop right into it and begin with this question. Kat, what has you most intrigued and thinking about the 2026 edition of Big 12 softball?
You know, I think the thing that excites me the most is the competition level. So Texas Tech added some big transfers that's going to elevate their game, and they were already in the national championship last year. So they elevated their game. Arizona being second year in the Big 12 now, finishing second next year. Do they have what it takes to be able to take that step? Can they challenge Texas Tech? And then for me, Iowa State, they made a run at the tournament last year, finishing third in the season. They, provided some excitement in Oklahoma City. Can they do it again with, pretty much almost everyone returning?
Okay, an early sleeper pick, perhaps.
We'll get to that later.
The Cyclones. Okay, yeah, we'll dive into the details of that. Rachel, similar question for you. What has your attention most? Maybe your number one storyline as we approach Big 12 softball?
Yeah, coming into the Big 12 this year, we're going to see a lot of young players. A lot of teams, Oklahoma State, UCF, Utah, Baylor, all loaded up with a lot of freshmen. So there's going to be a lot of talent coming into the Big 12, and I'm really excited to see how they compete with some of the best arms in college softball, like Kennedy, Kenzie Brown, Ruby Malin. These are elite pitchers. Like, how are these young players going to come in and make an impact on the team this season?
Can't wait to discover the answers to those questions. And let's set the context here as well, looking back on the 2025 season with the final Big 12 standings. Of course, Texas Tech, 20-4 in conference, made a magical run to the final, and they bring back a ton of talent. We already mentioned Arizona as well. Iowa State, Kat, you mentioned them finishing third at 15-9, followed by Oklahoma State, Arizona State, and BYU. And then the back five, UCF, Baylor, Kansas, Utah, and Houston. Well, not a ton of change as we push into the preseason poll from those final standings. But you will notice that there is a notable move by the Cyclones, who finished third. They go to seventh. Kat, what do you like and maybe have some questions about when it comes to the preseason poll and where teams ended up?
Well, I think you look at their rosters, right? So Arizona State's going to be anchored by Kenzie Brown. It's a no-brainer that they got a lot of votes to be in the third spot, even though Iowa State finished there last year. My question is how you put Iowa State seventh when they return almost everybody. The biggest graduation was Angelina Allen. Again, we'll get to that when we get to talk to Coach Pinkerton. But they return a lot, and they bolstered their staff a little bit. And so for me, Iowa State's the question mark. The other one I keep my eye on is Baylor. They retooled with some transfers as well. I think they could make a run in the Big 12 this year.
Rachel, do you have any major questions when you look at the preseason poll?
Honestly, not a ton of questions. I think Texas Tech at the top, everyone pretty much expected that. Oklahoma State, another team that we see at the top of the conference a lot of the time. The bottom half of the conference, like I said, a lot of young players are coming in. Utah, Houston, Baylor. I mean, who knows how they're going to be. If they have some freshmen coming in the lineup, they could make their way up the standings.
With the Red Raiders returning and revamping, it's almost hard for me to ask this question because they were so good last year, but Kat, did they get better in the offseason?
They did. Honestly, offensively, they added tools. You have Jasmine Burns, you have Mia Williams, you have Taylor Pannell. They retooled and they added some offense, but I think the biggest piece is adding Caitlin Terry. Caitlin Terry is a second arm, a left-handed arm, to now go in tandem with Nigeri Kennedy. And so Kennedy is going to have viable backup on top of Sam Lincoln returning, Chloe Riasetto, who is the senior with experience that came over with Jerry from Louisiana. So they added some necessary pieces in the circle and offensively for them to really be hard to beat, in my opinion, here in the Big 12.
Well, and depending on which publication you look at, Texas Tech, not surprisingly, preseason number 1 or number 2. So maybe the bigger question is, with everyone chasing Texas Tech, Rachel, what's the race for second place like in the Big 12 when you consider Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Arizona State?
Yeah, those are going to be some really competitive matchups throughout the season. I think Oklahoma State had a lot of high expectations last year, didn't quite meet those expectations, and unfortunately we're not going to be seeing the Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech in the Big 12 season this year, which is a little unfortunate for me. I thought that would have been a great matchup, but Arizona State, both bringing in some new pitchers. Kenzie Brown, obviously, for Arizona State, they're going to have solid pitching. Arizona, we know, is an offensive powerhouse. So, honestly, I could make a case for any of the three of them to compete very well with Texas Tech in the conference.
Let's have a look at the preseason all Big 12 team, and it is star-studded, to say the least. We'll start at the top and do this in alphabetical order, beginning with Reagan Shockey and Sydney Stewart of Arizona. We'll hear from them in just a moment. Kenzie Brown, Tanya Wendell representing the Sun Devils, Brooklyn Carter at Baylor, then BYU with the duo of Elovea Brittingham and Lily Owens. Isabella Vega representing the Knights of UCF, Jesse Clemens, the utility from Iowa State. Then we flip it to the back half of the page. Rosie Davis, Ruby Malin from Oklahoma State. And then you see 7 Red Raiders from Texas Tech. 7 on the preseason all Big 12 team.
Yeah, we knew they were, Jerry Glasgow was going to put up his entire lineup because he thinks they are all the best in the Big 12. And don't get me wrong, talent-wise, they are stacked. But yeah, Lauren Allred, who was at first last year, as we mentioned, Jasmine Burns comes in from Ohio State, Nigeri Kennedy. Texas Tech is loaded.
Maya Davis, Alana Johnson, Taylor Pennell, Caitlin Terry. It just goes, the list is lengthy for good reason. Expectations, have they ever been this high in Lubbock?
I don't think so. I can honestly say, other than last year when they brought in Nigeri Kennedy, the $1 million arm, obviously all eyes turned to Lubbock, Texas. But now Jerry Glasgow has added to that roster with not just some talent, with elite talent, and 4, 5, 6 of them, to where now all eyes are staring at Texas Tech and saying, show us what you got.
So when we dig into the Red Raiders, is there any sort of weakness that you perceive on the team? And it might be impossible to spot, but if there is a question mark, where would that lie with the Red Raiders?
I think for me, when you think about team chemistry and team culture and, bringing in transfers that are very talented is one aspect, but another aspect is bringing them into the team culture, setting the standards for Texas Tech, making them feel like they can play free and be themselves. And I think that's a little bit of an underrated aspect of bringing in transfers. Like, yes, you look and they have the talent, but the team chemistry and the way these players work together is also a very important piece. Yeah,
no doubt about it. Part of the NIL era and the changing landscape of collegiate sports, this is a loaded question for you, Kat. Do you feel like this NIL situation for a school like Texas Tech, specifically in the Big 12 Conference, is a good thing for the sport?
Well, I think so, because female athletes are now being able to be paid what they're worth for the most part. And some, obviously, like any sport, are getting to be astronomical numbers that even when you leave in pro ball and it goes in any sport, you don't necessarily match that. But for the 4 years in college, they're able to have a worth and be able to play on that worth. And so I think it's a good thing. And I think, we see Texas Tech, they hadn't been to a World Series ever until last year. And so Jerry Glasgow was able, because of NIL, to now cultivate excitement in Lubbock. And other teams are going to be able to start bringing in kids that maybe they didn't have a chance without NIL and recruiting. And part of me is like, well, if you can't recruit them to begin with, why, but hey, if you can pay a kid what they're worth and then they can come and experience your campus and then all of a sudden they have a different experience, a great experience, then now you're selling your brand and your brand's getting out there. So to me, it's branding. It's being able to find the athletes that fit, but bring them in. They get their money, but at the same time, you get to brand your organization, your school, your program, and it's a win for everyone.
The Big 12 has been branded as a different league, and it feels like it this season.
It is.
It is unique. All right, let's get to our team previews and open things up with the University of Arizona and their head coach, Caitlin Lowe, who joins us now virtually. Coach, welcome to Big 12 Softball Media Days. How are you feeling this morning?
Feeling great. Thanks for having us. I think we're the leadoff, so let's go.
It's always nice to have the A, to lead things off. And in Tucson, things are going great. Obviously, you show up number 2 in the preseason poll. How do you feel about where your team stacks up against teams like Texas Tech, Arizona State, and Oklahoma State?
Well, I've loved the dynamic of our team from the first day of fall. And I think we brought in 10 new people to join 9 returners. And it could have taken us a few weeks to kind of get into our groove. And I loved how our transfers and our freshmen fit in immediately. So took a deep dive into our culture in the fall. And, you're going to hear from some of our leaders a little bit later. But just love where this team is at and the fact that they continue to get better every day.
Caitlin, don't pretend you aren't used to leading off.
Just because you want to do it, Kat. I know.
Obviously last year, first year in the Big 12, so you're going into second year, obviously knowing, everyone on paper chasing Texas Tech. You guys, though, offensively were the best team in the Big 12 last year. You kind of revamped in the circle. Can you talk about what you guys did in the circle to support that offense that you guys have proven?
I really loved what we did in the circle. And, I don't think we just brought in talent. We brought in good fits for our program. They're people that embody the A and just high-level competitors. We've kind of made an extra effort to have the catchers involved in the bullpen as well to create a full battery experience, which I know is very important. And, I think with the addition of Jalen, it was really important to add some, seniority to that group. And we've got a lot of hungry underclassmen that are ready for the ball, and they're really pouring into what the team's doing, not just their individual performance. So I think, we've worked this entire fall and January to be the best team possible, and they're ready to, have their moment.
All right, Coach, yeah, super excited to see those new arms in the circle, but I want to ask a little more about your offense. Last season, you guys led the Big 12 in nearly every offensive category, hits, home runs, slugging percentage, whatever it may be, you guys were at the top. And with Devin Netz, the Big 12 Player of the Year, graduating last season, how are you managing, I'm so sorry. How are you managing the offense this season, your identity, the hitting velocity, and who is stepping up as a leader for your squad this season?
I think there's been quite a few people, to be honest, and I think the great thing about the transfers coming in is they've been perfectly themselves. They bring something different to this game, and we're not trying to be a cookie-cutter version of what we were last year. We're trying to be something completely different. So we love to play the game fast. We've always loved to play the game fast, so that's always going to be a component of our lineup with a little bit of pop in the middle. But we're doing some things this year to move the ball, put pressure on defenses, and it's something that we're really excited about. And when you do something like that and you make changes, it takes 100% buy-in. And I think the coolest thing about this team is they've been bought into, being coached hard, being held accountable, and just getting better every single day at the little things.
Coach, you may have already answered this partially, but what would you say the identity of 2026 Arizona softball is?
I think that's a tough question, but the entire fall showed me that they love this game. They're passionate about it, whether it's game day or practice day or whatever it is, they want to be the best. So I can't put one word on it yet, but it's a special group of players. And I'm excited for the way that they pour into this game, and they love it so much. So I'm ready for them to get after it, and I think we're going to play an explosive, fast version of softball and kind of figure out our identity within these first few months.
Coach, I'm going to go back to the battery. You brought in 2 senior transfers. You mentioned Jalen Adams in the circle, but you also have Grace Jenkins behind the plate. What do those 2 specifically possess that you were like, yes, we have to add them to our roster here at Arizona?
Well, I think you might be surprised where Grace is playing right now. She'll get some time behind the plate, but she's been playing right field a lot for us.
Wow.
And I think when I go back to the buy-in, it started from day one of fall, and we worked 2 catchers out in the outfield, and I remember, and Reagan can attest to this, the first day of practice, I said, all right, I'm going to gas you guys and let's get us ready to play. And we have a team full of athletes that can do a whole lot of different things, and great offensive weapons, and we can kind of place people in different spots. It's one of the strengths of our team. So at the end of the day, they're looking for exactly what the team needs to win. But the influx of Grace it's so great for our program, and I can't really say enough. I mean, the official visits that we had with our transfers were fantastic during the summer, and they were people that came in and they were Wildcats through and through. So Grace has provided the maturity, the pop at the plate, just the steadiness to be an elite hitter, and just love what she's brought culture-wise too. And she's someone that will, I think, develop as a leader this year as well.
That's awesome. Super excited to have her out on the field for you guys this season. And just looking at your schedule, you guys have a lot of SEC matchups in the preseason that all of us are going to be keeping our eye on. How are you preparing your team to start hot out of the gate?
You know, I think it's something, they're ready to see someone in the other dugout. Let me tell you that right now. I think they're so ready to have another opponent that they can kind of go at full force with all 20 of them. So I'm not worried about them being ready as much as keeping them kind of focused on the day-to-day and what that means. And, you know, when we're our best, we're shining in the present moment where our feet are, and we're being the best versions of ourselves. And the challenges are important. I mean, we're going to get a World Series environment week 1, kind of all throughout the preseason. So that's exciting. I think we're going to figure out where we're at right away. And then, as you know, when we build throughout an entire season, it's what we do week to week with the knowledge we gain every time.
Coach, we appreciate you spending some time with us as we preview the Big 12 softball season. As always, super excited to watch the Wildcats get to work. I know you're not ready to put a word on the identity of the team, but based on our conversation, a few things come to mind: versatility, excitement, explosive. All those things typically mean great results on the field.
Love it. Thank you guys so much.
You got it. Caitlin Lowe with us, the head coach of Arizona at Big 12 Softball Media Days. I loved your question, Rachel, about the early onslaught in the schedule that Arizona is going to face. And they're not the only Big 12 team that's going to do this, but it's great, and it's also terrifying when you stare down a schedule like that, Kat. So why do you think that it could be the most beneficial for a team like Arizona?
Well, I think when you start season playing somebody that is highly ranked, so let's pull the curtain back. They're playing OU for 3 games in opening weekend, right? But as Caitlin Lowe mentioned, she has experience. They have a lot of offense left. You know, yes, Devin Nett's left, but they welcome back Sydney Stewart, Reagan Shockey. And so you put them in the environment where, hey, this is what we want to see at the end of season. How do we handle it at the beginning and figure out from beginning to end what we need to do to be in Oklahoma City and play against a team like this in the same environment?
Rachel, so many talented players, and we just showed you some of the key returners that Kat brought up in Sydney Stewart and Reagan Shockey. Who do you feel like is the leader of Arizona softball from a player standpoint?
Right now, I would say Sydney Stewart is probably the main leader. She is just one of the best hitters in the country, was an All-American last year, leads this team power-wise, and has just been outstanding so far at her career in Arizona. So I really think she's going to help lead this offense this year.
And a perfect way to segue into our player portion of this Arizona Wildcats softball preview as we now welcome in Sydney Stewart and Reagan Shockey. Good morning to both of you. And a question for both of you. What has you most excited to play an actual game against not someone else that you've been staring at for the last 4 months?
I think we've been getting to work this whole fall, and obviously it's high competition and a lot of fun playing against each other. But then it gets to a certain point where we just get so hungry and we're just ready to face someone else. And we're so excited for season. We obviously have a lot of good opponents coming up, so we're just prepared and we're ready.
Yeah, I think we've just been focusing on the concept of iron sharpening iron, and now feel like we're at the point where we're ready to go as one, and it's just an exciting feeling to want all 19 of us on the same dugout at once.
I'm going to ask you guys about a teammate specifically. We talked about you, Sydney, because you were All-American. Reagan, you're always in the conversation because I'm going to be frank, you are like Caitlin 2.0, being the slapper outfielder. And, you know, I got to watch you before college, and I thought that. So But what does Taylor Beal mean to this team? Because she has started at shortstop since a sophomore, going into her senior year. What does she mean to this team in Arizona?
Yeah, I just think she just represents what Arizona truly means, and that's tradition, that's hard work, that's grit, that's leadership. And, you know, if you put a face to the name of Arizona, it's most likely it'll be all of us, but it's going to be Taylor Beal, and that's what she shows in practice every single day. And, you know, you think of Taylor, you think of the A, and I think that's the whole point of being at this program that's our goal, is to represent the A. When you think of Arizona, you think of softball. So that's Taylor Beal.
Yeah, Taylor's one of the most selfless people that I know. When I first got here, when I first transferred, she took me under her wing, asked me for anything that I needed. And during practice, too, she's always the first to grab the net, to put it away, pick up balls. Yeah, she's just one of the most selfless people that I know. So.
It's awesome. Well, both of you guys are outstanding offensive players. I'm really curious, what is the main thing that you have been working on in your game to improve for the season in 2026?
I think for me, it's just expanding off of what I did last year and not staying, I want to just grow off of what I did last year, and especially what we did as a team as well. I think that's just leading and being the best leader that I can be, and be there for the newcomers and kind of take them under my wing the same way that they took me under their wing last year. So I think for me, it's just being the aggressive hitter that I am, working on different speeds, making sure I can hit both change, hit the hard, hit everything, and just being a versatile hitter.
Yeah, and for me, I would say it's just getting better every single day. And a lot of my stuff this year is more team-wise of what I could do better for them. In my position, you know, I'm not sure where I'll be in the lineup, but it's more fulfilling that duty, whether it's first or second. So it's just more getting comfortable with being in different places, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and just, like I said, getting 1% better every day, every year. That's my main goal, and doing whatever I can do for my team.
Sydney, you have a unique perspective as an outstanding catcher of what it's like for opposing catchers to try and throw out the speedy Reagan Shockey. So how would you explain what that is like when she is on first base? You know what's coming and you can't stop it.
I think I'm grateful that she's on my team and I'm not facing her, because during fall, when we're on separate teams, she's always testing me, whether she's stealing second, even like a delay steal, she's always testing me, which I appreciate because it's getting me ready for the games. But Reagan's one of the most crafty players that I know, and it's just a privilege to have her on my team and to have that test during practice to be ready for the game.
Now, Reagan, if you want to take that next level, send a message on your smartwatch, like, I'm going to steal second right now. So to Sydney, just let it, tell her, give her a heads up and see if she can take care of business.
Oh, no, we're best friends, but not that close. No, but Sydney is different because, I have to be a little, like she said, crafty on how I approach her because she's very high softball IQ. So, I might not get away with the swim move and when I'm sliding and stuff, and she's always looking the next play. So I have to be a little bit more crafty with her, if I can even get safe with her.
Sydney, Coach Lowe talked to us about the catchers kind of being in the bullpen a little bit more this year, and obviously you guys added 3 arms into the staff. Can you talk about that pitching staff, what you've seen from them behind the plate? And then Reagan, feel free, I'm sure you've hit off of them already plenty of times, so add in what they look like this year, as that's going to be a very different look for you guys in the circle.
Yeah, our bullpens look a lot different from last year. Being able to have the opportunity to be locked in and engaged and actually have feedback on both ends, right? We made it a priority this year that not only is it catchers giving feedback to pitchers, but it's also pitchers giving feedback to catchers, right? So if I can snag a strike better, or if I can get to a ball, I want my pitcher to let me know. And I think being able to lock in on those meetings as well and kind of being a part of it, Coach Christian has been kind of guiding me to, to improve my IQ, and that's even calling games, right? So during our scrimmages, I get the opportunity to call some games and kind of learn that perspective of the game as well.
And then just from an offensive standpoint, it's just like the presence of the pitchers and the catchers this year has been elite, and they want to be there. They want to be doing extra. They enjoy competing and beating us sometimes if we're on the other team. But it's just, it fires me up, and it fires our offense up. because you want that fire coming against you because it prepares us for season, and that's what our pitchers and catchers have brought. You know, I want Sid and our other catchers throwing me out because that means they could throw and will throw anyone else out. So it's just really exciting, and I'm just fired up for them.
Sydney Stewart and Reagan Shockey of Arizona Softball on Big 12 Softball Media Days. We thank both of you for spending some time with us. Wish you the best of luck in the 2026 season. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We talk about dynamic duos, and we'll have several of those that we feature today. That duo right there could take Arizona to another level. The opportunity knocks for the Wildcats.
I think so. And you take those two offensively, what Taylor Beal does defensively, if she steps up a little bit offensively, that takes some of the load of what Devin Netz carried last year. Plus, they're newcomers. You know, we mentioned Grace Jenkins. She's going to have a phenomenal year. And if it's in right field DH, wherever Caitlin Lowe finds her, she's going to be in that offensive lineup. And so really excited to hear just that they've reloaded, but you hear them talk about the team, about the pitcher catchers being elite together. Caitlin Lowe talking about the newcomers buy-in, and Rachel hit on it when we talked in the open about the team culture and chemistry. And that is something that can take you far, and you can tell that Arizona has put an emphasis on that just with the way they talk, and then they're talking about how each other perform.
Again, versatility. I told Coach that was the word that came to mind. They feel very versatile.
Super versatile, super athletic. I love the way that Coach and both Sydney and Reagan talked about how they had young players, bringing them into the program. Like you said, transfers, bringing them in. They face Oklahoma 3 times in their opening weekend, which is definitely going to be a challenge, but I like that they're hungry and ready to see another team in the opposing dugout.
All right, let's keep this thing rolling because we have a lot to do and not a lot of time to accomplish it. We'll get right to our next team preview. And to do so, we welcome in the head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils, Megan Bartlett. Coach, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
What do you sense the opportunity is for a team like Arizona State as you stare down another anticipated and excited season?
It's been a labor of love the past few years, but we have a lot of new veterans in the mix, a complete pitching staff, and we're really excited for the year. So we're going to kick it off with Oklahoma opening day, and we're ready to get this program back in the World Series. So we're pretty excited.
Well, Coach, you lead me right into my question for you. Obviously, Kinsey Brown carried the load last year. You talk about the fact that you've brought in a transfer, a freshman. You have Mika Lupe coming back. Talk about the pitching staff and how you think that can help enhance what Kinsey can do later on in season.
Yeah, Ken certainly took a lot of the load last year. Exciting that she's healthy, she's hungry. You know, just a really proud, really locked in, committed Sun Devil. She's our leader. We go as she goes. Pretty thrilled. The addition of Aisa Silva, we just could not be more excited about. She's a lefty. She's a really different look. She has all the tricks from the left side. So when you're trying to prepare for one, it's really going to be difficult to prepare for the other. You know, Mika, I think, is going to surprise people this year. She has really dialed it in. Drop ball looks great. Coach Barkfeld spent some time working on her changeup. And then, of course, Mary Peyton Hodge, my secret weapon, our really young left-hander from North Carolina, had a great prep career to this point, and she's an entirely different look from the other three. Really great upspin, great curveball from the left side. So we have 2 righties, 2 lefties, and we're just excited to roll them out and watch them compete.
Awesome. I love how you brought in some lefties to complement Brown. That makes it really tough on opposing offenses. But I want to ask a little more about the defense behind the pitching staff. Who do you foresee taking over that middle infield position? And what is your defense looking like this season?
Tiare Ho-Ching is a brilliant defender. For my money, one of the best in the country. She can pretty fluidly go between shortstop and second base. I would expect to see her probably start the season at short. We have a freshman middle infielder, Jazz Marie Roberts, pretty talented kid, very athletic, can rake a little bit at the plate. I think she's probably got a pretty bright future in college softball. Brooklyn Ulrich comes to us as a first-team all-region hitter from Marshall. She's got long levers. She's got a big arm. swings it from the left side for some pretty decent power. So as far as the middle infield, we've certainly got some options. And again, just kind of excited to see who shows up on game day and who's going to get the job done. Millie Roberts is doing a nice job for us at third base. She's a transfer from Auburn. TK Davis, we have her back. She's a brilliant defender, really athletic, really twitchy, creates a nice kind of wall at the hot corner there. We'll get Katie Chester back, transfer that came in, another one from the SEC. She was injured last season, so Katie provides some real power with the bat. Does a really nice job at first base. And then, of course, Sam Swan is always going to pull double duty for us. She's our starting catcher, and she's brilliant. But when she's not catching, Sammy's bat's going to be in the lineup. So she has learned to play a pretty tidy first base. Kat, I'm guessing you had something to do with that at some point. Sandy girl. And then, of course, Emily Shep, transfer in from Arizona. She can catch. She can play first. Just really great barrel control for a power hitter. I think that was the first thing that kind of stood out with Shep to me, that she knows how to execute tasks when she's at the plate. She's just not trying to hit the ball far. She's getting things done. So we finally in year 4 have some depth and we have some options, and just excited to see how it shakes.
The head coach of Arizona State softball, Megan Bartlett, is on Big 12 softball media days. You used the phrase labor of love to explain this build and the last few seasons, and there's been some frustration and some adversity. But I hear coaches at several Division I sports talk about growing old together, and then when you finally do get older and you get the right chemistry, then something special can happen. So what's, I guess in a roundabout way, when it is difficult, what's the best part of going through those difficulties to get to where you are now, Coach?
Well, you'll meet 2 of them later. One of our 5th years, Kenzie will be with y'all, and then Tanya, who's been with us for, 3 seasons now, one of our seniors. I think it really helps you appreciate the big wins and the good days. We have certainly all kind of been through the fire together and fought to put this thing back together in a really meaningful way. And it isn't lost on me that especially our kids that have been with us for 2 and 3 years now, they could have played anywhere in the country, and they chose to be here and be Sun Devils and build and chase Oklahoma City together. So, we're really just grateful they continue to choose us and choose this program. But that's something that's also not lost on me this day and age, where these kids have a limitless amount of options, and we're watching it kind of transpire, right now, I guess, in the football portal and things like that. But these guys are loyal. They're incredibly hardworking. They love their teammates, and they love being Sun Devils.
Coach, you mentioned it, the ones that love to be Sun Devils, and you graduated 2 of those. Obviously, AJ Murphy led you guys in average last year, filled in at shortstop, even though I don't know physically that she was at her best, but she did the job. And then Kelsey Hall, obviously, who we all know had an incredible story and led you guys in RBIs. You had an incredible freshman class that came in that complemented those 2. How are you going to get that sophomore class to now kind of fill the shoes to take, 49 RBIs off of Kelsey Hall's bat? You got to divide that out somewhere. But how are you going to go get those 3 freshmen between Ho Ching, Mejia, and Davis to be able to kind of fill in offensively this year?
Well, I tell you, you'll remember the name Ashley Mejia offensively for sure. She has been lights out this entire year. I'm just so excited to watch her go. I think she has been one of the most receptive kids to Coach Bloomer, and it's paying dividends. So really excited for Ashley's year. I talk about how brilliant she is defensively, but she's another kid that she's got great barrel control. She's going to get back on time if she's a kid that can make pitch to pitch adjustments. And she's scrappy and she competes really, really well. TK plus athlete. So when she, squares up the ball, it's going to go. But yeah, that freshman class was our first class that we were kind of on track with to recruit, and excited for the rest of their career. And, but Ashley in particular, I think is going to do some special things with the bat. So where we're looking to kind of fill in RBIs from the loss of Kelsey, certainly expect Ashley to step into that role. AJ certainly provided, high contact, high average, and Tiare can fill those roles. But with the influx of veterans we got out of the portal, Kaylee Pond, we're gonna be able to do some things, I think, that are going to be pretty special at the plate. It's going to be fun softball to watch.
A comprehensive Sun Devil team preview from Coach Bartlett. Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much for the insight.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. As she mentioned, we'll hear from two outstanding Arizona State Sun Devils in Kenzie Brown and Tanya Windle in just a moment. Rachel, question for you. You brought up the balance that the left hands are going to bring to the circle for ASU. What kind of dynamic does that bring to a team and an advantage, if you will?
It's such an advantage when, as a hitter coming into the box, seeing a right-handed arm, you know, you're used to that angle, you're used to the spin, and then if they can switch it up and bring in some lefties, it completely changes the view where the ball's being released, the spins, your plan. So it's a huge advantage for Arizona State. Super excited to see them bringing in some lefties to complement Kenzie Brown.
Speaking of Kenzie Brown, the senior pitcher is one of the Sun Devil duo that join us now, as well as Tanya Windle. And we wish both of them a happy Big 12 Softball Media Days celebration. Great to have both of you with us. We'll start with you, Kenzie. Question for you. As a senior and knowing this is the final go-around, what type of aura and feeling is around Sun Devil softball about what's potential this year?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think that we've just worked so hard this past fall, and, you know, losing regionals last May, I guess it was, like, just lit a fire under us, and we're ready to go this season.
Kenzie, I'm going to follow up with you. So obviously you brought in John Bardfeld for pitching. You have a previous relationship with him a little bit. He recruited you to Tulsa. Can you talk about that, what you remember, the relationship you guys had? And then I know it's been a short time, but how has he already maybe challenged you or helped you out to where you feel like you're ready to go senior year?
Yeah, Coach John and I went back to Tulsa a little bit. I met him at a camp, and he was already gone by the time that I had gotten there, obviously. But yeah, there's a previous relationship there. He knew me whenever I was 13 and basically Bambi on ice. But now it's just full circle, like getting to work with him this past month or so. We've worked a lot on a drop, and just adding that into the rotation is going to be really, really good to have for hitters this year.
And Tanya Windle, I have a question for you. As the average leader at Arizona State for 2 years now, I want to know, what is your approach as a hitter, and how do you remain so consistent in the box, and how are you planning on taking that into the 2026 season?
Yeah, honestly, I thank Coach Bloomer, our hitting coach, for the preparation that he gives us before every series, honestly, and before every week that we get into it. I think having a plan is a huge deal, huge thing, and he helps us a lot to get to where we need to be before we play anybody, and I think that is definitely a big help. So,
Tanya, your coach talked about fun returning to Arizona State softball, and it's always fun when the offense is spectacular. She alluded to that being the case and preparing for that. Why do you feel like the offense is so capable of becoming another level of potent?
oh yeah, I mean, we have power this year, we have speed this year, we have all aspects that's going to make us a really powerful, speedy offensive team this year, and I'm super excited. We have players like Kaylee Pond that joined us, Ashley Mejia, like Coach B was saying earlier. I mean, a little bit of myself, Tiade, Yaya, like we have a stacked lineup this year, and I'm so unbelievably excited for us to have fun, and we got to talking about it and everything, and it's just really enjoying the game for what it is and being where our feet are this year and being the dogs that we know we can be. It's super exciting.
As most years, you guys host early in season because obviously the weather's nice out there, but you're staring at a big circle, a big OU to open up. How excited are you guys to take on the Sooners in Tempe to start your season?
I think it's an amazing opportunity. We're prepared for the moment, and I'm excited. No matter what, we're going to get better from that game, and I think it's going to shock a lot of people what we can do.
All right, fair enough. The Sun Devils bringing it during Softball Media Days. We thank both of you for spending some time with us. Good luck beginning with Oklahoma, and can't wait to watch things unfold.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the Arizona schools down, Arizona and Arizona State. The Wildcats picked to finish second, Arizona State third. I mean, what type of difference do you sense between those? I mean, it feels like we're splitting hairs when it comes to the talent that both teams have. Like, would anybody be surprised if one or the other finished above the other?
I don't think so, because you have a consistent offensive output of Arizona. You know, they are solid in the way they do offense, and they have been under Caitlin Lowe, but even prior to her with Coach Candrea, which is obviously where Caitlin learned a lot of her philosophy from. But then you have Arizona State, who I almost say Arizona's refined, but Arizona State's young and they're energetic and they just go play. And so I think on any one day, either side of those can obviously take the reins. And so it'll be exciting to see how both teams unfold, because I think you have two very different styles, but both of them are extremely competitive.
Rachel, there was some real frustration for Arizona State there in their build, but how can that, do you feel, benefit them as they get ready for this season with so many key seniors in the mix?
Yeah, I think just that experience is key, and going through the highs and lows throughout your career is also super important to creating that mental toughness. I think it really helps bring the team together, and all of these girls are super passionate about Arizona State, and they're all fighting together for a championship. So I think just going through the adversity makes everyone tougher and prepares everybody for the upcoming season.
All right, it's been morning time for the first two teams that we've spoken with here in the West Coast, but the Big 12 is across the entire country, and that leads us into our team preview of the UCF Knights, who join us from sunny Orlando, Florida, and we welcome in their head coach, Cindy Ball-Malone. Coach, how's life in Orlando today?
We're doing great. We're a nice warm 54 today.
It has been unique. Frankly, let's go there because it is relevant. How has this unique weather impacted your usual build up to the season?
Yeah, you know what? We've actually been pretty blessed. We've had some great weather in the last 2 weeks, and today is, I think we scheduled it correctly. It's an off day for us. So we get to be inside and stay warm, and hopefully some better temperatures will come for us later on.
And a follow-up there, what has you most excited about the 2026 season in general?
Just building off of that momentum from last year with some great senior leadership experience from our youngsters. We still have a very young team, but you know, to make it to a regional final last year and the entire team still be hungry has just been awesome to be able to see throughout the fall and the hard work that they've put in.
Coach, I'm going to go straight to your and I favorite part, the circle. Obviously, last year you kind of had the 1-2 punch with Vega and Felton. Felton obviously graduated, but you have, I think I counted 7, 8 arms on staff. How do you plan to, from a 1-2 punch to a 1 through 8, use your staff this year?
We have 9. So yes, it's quite a few. I think that it's really been fun to watch how they have just worked together and found their identity within the bullpen. But again, people are going to do their homework on Issa and Yesenia because they did get most of the innings, like you had mentioned. And so we've worked on being able to match up when those people are able to counteract those. We're going to neutralize their counteract and work as a staff, like you mentioned. We have all different kinds of pitchers, 2 left-handed pitchers. You might know a little bit about that, right? So I'm really excited to see them just blend together and get as many outs as we can.
Awesome. I want to talk a little more about the young players on your team. More than half of your players this year are underclassmen. How do you think this can be an advantage to your team going into the season, and what have you liked so far about them adjusting to the collegiate level of practice so far?
Well, it is definitely fresh and new, and I would say it's the dynamic power, speed, that we bring with the youth is exciting, like you said. It definitely is brings some interesting times to practice each day, but I like how we have blended our knowledge from our older vets and brought that back in with our younger. But just to build off of the success from last year for those sophomores now, And then the freshmen that they know, like, okay, this class did this their freshman year, and they're wanting to compete with them.
Coach, your team's picked to finish 5th in a very talented conference with Texas Tech, the heavy favorite. How do you use or maybe ignore those preseason expectations and rankings that come out? You try and keep them quiet, but do you use it as a motivating tool, or do you just pass it by altogether?
I think there's a few ways to be able to look at it. The Big 12 is so competitive. So 5th in the Big 12, the 12 could typically mean like top 25, top 20. But I also, we're not here to be 5th. You know, the goal is to make it to the championship game in the Big 12 tournament, and then playing on from there. So we can use it a little bit, but then also understand that, you know, that we want to keep going with it. So, but again, it's an idea by the coaches, and you never know, because the stats definitely showed different from what people had voted on from last year.
Coach, talk to us a little bit. How is Vega going to look a little bit different? And then also, I know you lean into Aubrey Evans and some of your seniors for leadership. How have they been able to bring along all of your youngsters?
Yeah, I think Issa's going to do what she does and continue to be really good at, you know, what she has thrown. And then she's worked on implementing another pitch, different side of the plate. To go along with your question about our captains and our seniors, they're definitely playing like playground kids. So when they need to be captains, they're doing it, but then they're also diving in. We've talked a lot about not tiptoeing in. We're not going to just, you know, test the waters out. We're going to cannonball in. And the seniors have been doing a great job of leading that.
Coach, congratulations to you on what you have built at UCF, and things look very bright in the 2026 season. Can't wait to watch it. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
All right, UCF. Again, I love that the perspective she brings there with, okay, picked 5th, but when you consider what this conference is, like, you legitimately could be a top 25 team. So it's not exactly a knock, but I thought it was nice that she gave some insight into, okay, the goal is to get to the Big 12 championship game in the tournament.
Correct. And they had a good showing. They were knocking on the door last year in the Big 12 tournament. But last year she talked about being young, and she said, we're young again. But she never takes being young as, hey, we're rebuilding. She takes it as, I'm young, they have energy, let's go, let's play with that energy. And you almost see the reverse when we asked her how the seniors were pulling the youngsters along, is like, no, the youngsters brought the seniors back into this fun-loving playground type of play, as she mentioned. And that's how they play their best. When you watch UCF softball, they are at their best when it looks like they are just out there on the sandlot playing for fun. And so I think she's excited to see that, especially with so many youngsters on her roster.
Not all dugout cheers are created equally. UCF seemed to be extra exuberant last year. And Rachel, this youth movement, it's not uncommon. Obviously in the Big 12, we're starting to see impact players at younger and younger ages. Why do you think that is?
It's awesome to see, too. And I think a big reason is freshmen coming in, you have no idea what to expect. Like, you don't have expectations for yourself. You don't have numbers on you. Coaches don't have information on you. You're just coming in and playing softball, just like you said, like you were a little kid playing wiffle ball in the backyard. And I think that's why a lot of these freshmen succeed so much, is just coming in with no expectations and playing free.
All right, joining us now are two of those UCF Knights. They are Ashley Griffin and Aubrey Evans, who are joining us live from Orlando. Good to see both of you. And I know it's 54 degrees today, but how are things feeling as you warm up towards another softball season? We'll start with you, Ashley. What's the feeling around UCF softball right now?
Yeah, it's been great these past 2 weeks getting started here in Orlando, whether it's warm or cold. But we're just really excited to get going, counting down the days as everyone is, and just really ready to play someone else besides ourselves.
Now, Aubrey, you are a senior, and you got a bunch of young, talented players around you. How would you explain the dynamic of UCF with all of the different classifications involved in a very talented squad?
Yeah, you make a good point. We are a young squad, but as Coach Bear alluded to earlier, we have depth everywhere, and we're going to use, 1 through 10 in the starting lineup. And then also we have, again, great people everywhere, but we're just going to use what we have and what we've been working towards in the fall and bringing it over to the spring. I'm excited to see us come together, like Ashley said, and play other teams besides ourselves. But we're super excited, just ready to get after it.
I'm sure you two have seen your own pictures enough, probably so much that you're ready for season to be here. Everyone knows about Isabel Vega coming back. What is the hidden secret of the rest of the staff for them to have her back as season goes on?
Yeah, I mean, we're a very versatile staff. As Coach Bear mentioned earlier, we have 9 pitchers, and they each bring something different to the table. So I think just knowing their strengths and using their strengths to their ability to back up Issa, but across the board, I think we're going to be a great staff, a pitch by committee, and be able to use everyone's abilities.
Awesome. Well, I want to know, you guys are both senior leaders for this team. You have seen UCF softball through the years. What makes this team different and unique, and how has your team come together with all the new additions this year?
Yeah, to speak on that, I think just team camaraderie is such a huge thing. I mean, talent can only get you so far, and I think each one of us has dove into getting to know each other on and off the field, seeing what people need, how they handle failure and how they're going to handle success. But off the field, we do a lot of fun things together. I think just the chemistry and the camaraderie that we've built with each other has been so much fun. And we just love one another, and we're just going to go to war with each other. And I think truly 1 through 28, it's going to be 28 on 1 is what we like to say at UCF, and everyone's going to be for each other. And I think when we see that come together, good things are really going to happen. So I'm excited to just see that play out this year.
A question for both of you, Ashley and Aubrey. What does UCF softball do best right now?
Competing, I would say. Regardless of the name across the jersey, we're going to go out and compete, as we call it. We're facing Sally. And regardless of the opponent, we're going to go out and give our 100%, no matter the day, no matter the team, and whatever that day brings. Yeah, to go off of that, I mean, the competition part is huge, doesn't matter what you've done in previous years, it's a new year. You got to prove yourself day in and day out. And I think every one of us has that chip on our shoulder. So going out to practice every single day, we have a bunch of hard workers. I mean, today's our off day, and I know everyone's in that building right now just competing and working to get better. So I think right now it's just the competitive aspect in our locker room, and we're just eager to start and push each other to be the best of versions of ourselves.
All right, and last question for you guys. You have a really tough preseason schedule coming up. I see Duke, Georgia, LSU, Nebraska. I want to know, who are you most excited to face this season?
Well, our mentality here is one game at a time. So our focus this year is not to look too much ahead. So our first focus is Boston U opening day, and then we'll move on each day and each game to focus on that opponent, because we don't want to look too far ahead, get distracted, and then lose the focus of the task at hand. I think Coach Bear puts us in a good spot playing tough competition. Like you said, all those people that we're playing are great teams. But again, we got to be where our feet are, play one game, one pitch, one inning, one out at a time. I'm looking forward to every single game throughout this whole season. So just really excited for everything that we have in store, and just trying to take it one day at a time and soak it all in.
UCF softball, the spotlight team on Big 12 Softball Media Days for the moment. We thank both of you for spending some time with us, and looking forward to another super exciting season to try and replicate some magic from last year.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. UCF, again, not your typical team, because they do have, they're not senior heavy and senior laden. And so there are still some question marks about the youth movement, Kat, but what makes you confident that they do have the opportunity and skill to get back to a regional and make some noise?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to it, and we've talked about it, is the team culture. You can listen to those two athletes talk about what it means to play at UCF, to buy into what Coach Bear teaches and preaches. And you hear them constantly refer to, well, you know, Coach Bear has us thinking this way. And so they buy into it, and that trickles down. But I think the other piece is you can tell that they have a proud sense of being part of UCF and putting UCF on the map continually. And, you know, we saw them able to host a regional and go to a super a couple years ago, and they want to get back to that, and then Oklahoma City is the next step. But you hear the buy-in from the players there and the collective. You know, they talk about being the best version of themselves, getting to know each other on and off the field. I'm sure they've all gone to lunch with each other, you know, a common team building thing that a lot of the coaches put in. But that, when you're so young, that's necessary, because when it gets hard, the youngsters can start to stray, and if you know them, you can pull them back in. Like, hey, you know what? We talked about when it gets hard, how you act. I'm gonna bring you back in. And so I think that's really cool to see is the culture thrives in Orlando.
How long does it take a team to really understand what they are and how many games? I know this is like a moving target, but typically, when do you feel like you know who you are as a team?
Honestly, I think that can start back in the fall before games even begin. And I know UCF, one of those programs that they did the program, which I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's like Navy SEAL training. And so they basically put you through the hardest obstacles that you can go through physically, mentally, as a team together. If you do that the first weekend of the year, you're setting yourself up for success right away. And then when games start and things are changing, it's a lot easier for you to adapt.
All right, we continue on with our team previews and turn our attention to the Cowgirls of Oklahoma State. Their head coach, Kenny Gajewski, joins us now. Coach, welcome to Big 12 Softball Media Days. How's life in Stillwater?
Thanks for having us. It's cold right now, but life is good. Teams getting ready to, you know, play our first games like all these other guys. We're excited about this group, this opportunity, and can't wait to get started.
What has you most excited about this specific team?
It's a really unique roster. We've got 11 returners, 11 new kids, got some very talented freshmen, a couple really good transfers. And then we've got a core group of kids that'll be back here that have a ton of experience in OKC, in this conference, and doing what we've always done, playing a great schedule. And those are things that are very important to us.
Well, Coach, you talked about having the great schedule, and you did. You scheduled incredibly hard. Obviously, last year, Ruby Malin and Riley Crandall carried the load for you, and I know there were times where it's like you needed that third arm or you needed somebody to be able to take some innings. What's your pitching staff look like this year in complementing those two as they finish out their careers?
Yeah, thanks, Kat. We feel really good. Obviously, Riley had a little bit of a up and down year. Started off not so hot for her, and then got hurt and took her a long time. You know, we were really like a one woman show last year for most of our year, and I feel really good about this year where we've seen tremendous improvement in Ruby, and now we've got a healthy Riley. Not only healthy physically, but I think emotionally, mentally, and just a really, really good spot. Had a great fall, a great return from winter break. And then we've got two young arms. We've got Madison Hoffman, who's a redshirt freshman, who gives us a completely different look from Ruby. And Riley, it's a little more floaty, a little more up in the zone. Competitive, and then we've got a true freshman in Presley Downing, who I like to call the little bulldog. She's just competitive. She's gonna shove the ball right over the plate and dare you to hit it. I love it. I love watching her compete. The moment never seems too big. I mean, obviously we'll go see what happens here when we go play these games, but I think those two are gonna really help Riley and Ruby to carry this load, and that's something that we didn't have this past year.
And backing up those pitchers, I know that defense is a huge emphasis at Oklahoma State, and having to fill that left side, I'm curious how the infield is shaping up this year.
Hey, Rachel. Good to see you on this show. Yeah, you know how important the defense is to us. And we're not probably going to be the best version of ourselves to start, to be honest. And it doesn't mean that we can't be, but we've got some moving parts. Now, when we play well, we look really good. So we've got Carly back at first. I think she's an elite first baseman, moves well, really works hard at her craft. We've taken Rosie and moved Rosie to third. And I've actually seen some just incredible things with her at third. A different type of quickness that I saw when I was recruiting her out of high school, just moves really good there. Still new to her, so there's some new, nuances that she's picking up each day. But again, her and Carly, they're just masters of their craft. They just work at it nonstop with Coach Berge, and so that's really cool to watch. And then we've got some new things in the middle of our field. We've got Aubrey Jones, who's a highly recruited kid. If you were going to do like a Major League Baseball comp and you walk out and you just look at her, you're going to say, hey, it's cool that you have Cal Ripken playing shortstop. I mean, she looks like Cal. Like she's a beautiful kid, but tall, long, can really throw. Is capable of making some really, really spectacular plays. But like any young kid, it's going to just take time, right? It's going to take some going through the ringer here, and playing the schedule that we're going to play. We try to put as much pressure on them as we can each day. And she's way better than what she was in the fall, to be very honest. She's just becoming more steady and making plays and playing with that energy that I saw as a high school kid, a travel ball kid, when she acted like she was the best player on every field she walked onto. She's starting to kind of get that swag back and that look back, and she's going to have that to play short. And then at second base, we've got her sister, Jaden Jones, and a freshman, Gabby Castillo, are in a really big battle. I think you're going to see them both play. They're very different. Gabby's a catcher to start with, and she had such a good fall with her bat, and she can run and she can short game and she can drive balls into the gap. We had to find her spot, and so second base is where she's landed at this point. And then Jaden Jones, Aubrey's sister, who I talked about, she's a transfer from Vatech. She's a different player than Gabby, not as quick and fleet-footed like Ubeck, but she can routine balls, and then she brings a different dimension with her bat, more power from the left side, can drive balls, competitive, super competitive. So we'll see where that shakes out there. So we've got some questions there, but feel like we've got answers too, and we'll see how it shakes out here as we get going.
Coach, always great to talk with you. And for what it's worth, Cal Ripken played in orange and black for the Orioles, so it kind of makes sense.
Right.
She's in the orange and black with Oklahoma State.
Right. No question.
Great to have you with us, man. Looking forward to a great season.
Okay.
All right. Of interesting note, Aubrey and Jaden Jones, second set of sisters to play for Oklahoma State at the same time since all the way back in 1990-91. How cool is that you got the sisterly duo and a talented one at that?
Well, and not to mention they're up the middle, if you mentioned. So he's talking about second and shortstop if they're both on the field. But that's a pretty cool opportunity to be able to play with someone you obviously grew up with, trained with. And again, as we talk about, they know you. So, one makes an error, the other knows how to pick them up, back and forth. But it'll be interesting. I think the one thing Kenny Gajewski is really good at is he's able to be fluid and flexible. And no matter what the season throws, he is ready for that next move. He has athletes, as he mentioned. He took a catcher and put him at second base because offensively she had a great fall. So he is ready to make the move whenever it's necessary. And so it'll be interesting and exciting to see what he does with this Cowgirl roster.
And Rachel, you played for him. I know you trusted him. What if he had put you at catcher? Would you bought into that?
Of course. Hey, I would have been in the bullpen every day, trying my best.
Just getting ready. All right, we continue on with our Big 12 Softball Media Day coverage. It is fast and furious, no doubt about it. And we move on to our next team. It is Iowa State and their head coach. Sorry, players. I'm getting ahead of myself. Live television, folks. We're going to go to the Oklahoma Oklahoma State players. We can't look past the Cowgirls of Rosie Davis and Ruby Malin. My apologies to both of you. We would never overlook so much talent. It's great to have you with us here today.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
What's the best part of playing for Coach Kenny Gajewski?
I say for me, he's kind of just like a second dad for me, and I always just want to go out there and grind for him because he puts so much effort into us, and so I always want to try and do everything I can for him.
Yeah, I think he cares about this place and takes care of this place better than anyone, and he shows that every single day when he shows up, and I think he's easy to rally behind, and yeah, he wants to win, and so do we.
You guys have technically 11 underclassmen on roster, 8 true freshmen, 2 redshirt freshmen, 1 sophomore. Out of those 11, who stands out to you? Who do you think is going to be able to make an immediate impact this season?
He talked about Aubrey Jones a lot. I think she moves better than a lot of people I've seen, especially being so young. I think she's going to adjust super well to the college game. And then also JL Austin will be our center fielder, I think. And she's awesome. She's diving, making plays, hitting the ball well. She's quick. She's awesome. So both of those 2 are the people that come to mind.
Yeah, for me as well, Aubrey Jones, she's such a dog out there. I love getting to take ground balls with her because she just makes the most crazy plays. And I'm like, wow. And then also JL Austin, I mean, she is crazy when she tracks down balls. I mean, she can literally run into a wall, but she won't drop that ball, I promise. So yeah, those 2 players are just super fun to watch, and I can't wait to watch them just blossom.
And Rosie, you were one of the best clutch hitters in college softball last year. I just want to know, what is your approach that allows you to come through in such high pressure moments?
Yeah, I kind of just tell myself, and something I live by is just always being in the moment. And when you're in the moment, no moment is too big. And so I always just take deep breaths and really just try and just trust my preparation that I've had, that I've worked so hard to do in order to succeed in those moments. So I just really try and be in the moment and trust myself.
Ruby, this is a program that's been to 5 College World Series in the last 9 seasons. Expectations year in and year out are just at the top. So what's the key to handling those constant expectations for a program that carries so much tradition like Oklahoma State does?
Yeah, I think it's just keeping the eyes on the prize and knowing that that's kind of our standard. We have that as a goal every single day, and we're keeping that in the back of our mind. And I think everything we work towards is for that end goal, the last game in OKC.
Ruby, you really carried the load last year, and we heard Coach G talk about it. And obviously he mentioned Riley's healthy and a better version of herself. But what has the bullpen looked like this season, as there's 2 other arms in there with you guys now as well?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think I was just talking to somebody about this earlier, but we have 2 girls, me and Rye, with tons of experience, and we have 2 who have never pitched in a collegiate game before. So I think just kind of taking them under our wings and taking care of them, and kind of telling them what we're all about as a pen. And yeah, it's been awesome. Like, everyone we have is very different, but we all are kind of working towards the same things and are understanding our roles. And so that's been super awesome to work with those 3.
All right, and I just want to know, what is one thing that each of you guys have really focused on this offseason to up your game for the spring in 2026?
Mine would be, honestly, I'm learning a whole new role here on the infield, and so it's something I've never played before. So I'm really just trying to adjust that for third base and kind of learn how to lead others in the same direction that I'm going in, and just help them along the way, and maybe help them a little bit on the roller coaster rides of the ups and downs, since I've kind of been through it a little bit now that I'm a junior. So yeah.
I think for me, just learning an off-speed pitch that's effective. And then just kind of really trying to perfect my drop ball and rise ball, just make those pitches move a little bit more. But the off speed has been the main focus.
Quick bonus question here. What's it like to face each other in practice?
Dude, Ruby is so crazy to hit. Like, I go up there some days and I'm like, oh geez, am I actually supposed to be able to hit this ball? So, but she competes and we compete with each other, and it's super cool to just know that, we're actually on the same team, so we'll never actually have to do this.
Yeah, I was just telling Rose this morning I'm about done facing her. I feel like I execute pitches and she hits them off the wall, so I'm pretty sick of that. I'm excited to face someone who hasn't seen me yet.
Real talk on Big 12 Softball Media Days. Great to have both of you with us, and good luck in what we know is going to be a fantastic season.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right. I love that dynamic. Because they're both so good in their own specific crafts.
You saw as soon as you act, Rosie Davis got this huge smile, and I was like, I can't tell if this is like a, I hit her, and I can't wait to like revel in this moment. She was nice, and then Ruby was like, no, she hits me off the wall. Let me be real. So the smile was like telling on Rosie Davis, and that was fun to see. But I think it shows their competitiveness, you know, talking about the rawness, the facing each other and how it plays out. And if there's one thing Kenny Gajewski does is he always puts a competitive team on the field, and he expects them to compete from the first pitch of season to the last pitch of season, and he expects that to be in Oklahoma City.
No doubt about it. Picked to finish second. Rachel, you played for that program. You know it better than most. And so I'm going to ask you the same question I asked those two fantastic women, and that is, what is the key to handling constant expectations that are so high?
You just got to come inwards towards your team, not worry about the outside expectations. And it is tough. Oklahoma State did go to the World Series 5 years in a row before last season. So I think last season everyone kind of saw that as a huge disappointment. But the coaching staff was like, you guys are good. You have to just come back, come together as a team, and just keep fighting. Every day is a new day. And Coach G loves to say, be where your feet are. So I think that's the key.
Do they feel underrated at number 19 in the preseason poll, or do you feel like that's a fair spot right now, given the construct of their roster?
I think it's a fair spot with, as you heard Coach Gajewski talk about, they were pretty much a one-woman show for most of season. No one knows what a healthy Riley Crandall can do for them yet. She battled some injuries going up and down last year. And so when you look at what happened last year, I think it's a fair spot. Do I think that's where they'll end up? No, I think with a healthy Riley Crandall, two other arms to be able to take some innings off. I mean, I talk about the circle a lot. Obviously, it's what I know, but it's so important. When you have strong arms, it's so important for them to be, I don't want to say rested, but not taxed at the end of season. And I think that's where you saw is Ruby Malin was taxed at the end of season. And as somebody who obviously has done that plenty of times, it's hard. It's mentally, emotionally, and physically hard to be at your best when you're needed to be in the biggest moments of season.
Listen, Batman needs a Robin.
You do need a Robin, and sometimes you need a couple others too.
Yes, we need all of the Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever.
Correct.
Like you need multiple high-level players. All right, we continue on, and now we get to Iowa State, team number 5 of 7 today. We'll do 4 more tomorrow in this 2-day extravaganza. We welcome in the head coach of the Iowa State Cyclones, Jamie Pinkerton. Coach, good to have you with us. And I'd like to state that my good friend Kat here to the left has pointed you out as one of the sleepers of the league. So how do you feel about that title as we go into a new season?
To leave it that way. When we're a long ways from a lot of the other schools, and the more quiet we can be and fly under the radar is the way that we like it, when I personally prefer it. So, but yeah, thanks for having us, and enjoy getting on here and talking Big 12 softball.
Coach Pinkerton, I think this is like 6 or 7 years in a row for you and I now. I always get to talk to you at some point during season, but I have you guys picked. I look at how you finished last year, obviously in the Big 12 tournament, but finishing 3rd. Honestly, looking on paper, you return almost everybody. I know you had the transfer of Trice, and obviously you're one of your favorite, I feel like, because you mention her all the time, Angelina Allen, graduating. With almost everyone back, what does the energy feel like? What newcomers have you added that are going to help elevate you guys? Strong 3rd place finish. So obviously, while you say it can be quiet, your team knows what you're capable of. What are the newcomers, adding to the energy you guys are bringing back from 2025?
Well, I mean, we've had really good, we're a veteran ball club. So I think they've kind of been able to just kind of build on what we did last year, and kind of, for lack of better terms, trust the process that we go through. The freshmen coming in, obviously, with being experienced we're being able to bring them along slowly. But, with any team, if we can afford stay away from injuries to main people, that we're going to be fine. But the freshman class, we got a couple of pitchers that are kind of finding their way through in inter-squad scrimmages. Casey Kane's done a good job helping Carly Ford behind the plate. And then, just the others are doing what they can do to kind of find a spot in the lineup. But we have a lot of seniors, so it's there's going to be, growing pains and getting them into a position to be able to step in if something happens to one of our upperclassmen. But, with Tatum Johnson and Tiana Poole in the outfield, and then you have McKenna Andrews, Sydney Malott, Reagan Bartholomew in the infield. There's not a lot of playing time there right now in our eyes with the experience that we have. So hopefully we'll be able to use these young players to kind of step in behind and fill in if injuries should creep in. But, obviously it would be a big knock to us to lose a senior leadership that we have with that group. And it's a collaborative group, and they're really good leaders, and feel like the program's in a good spot, and they'll leave it in a good spot when they graduate.
And Coach, I want to ask a little bit more about some of your freshman stars last season. Jessie Clemens, Carly Ford, both having great years. Talk a little bit about their mindset and how they've developed even more over the offseason with your staff.
Well, I mean, they're both gamers. They're both high energy players, intense in their own ways. I think, both of them will be leaders. We're sitting here, I still haven't named captains, or if I'm going to have a captain's council to have our seniors kind of lead a little bit and bring along some of the younger players as that vacuum goes with the graduation. That's still to be determined. But I think they bring a lot of energy. I listen to them when they speak. Obviously, I like our players and our women to have a voice and have input. I don't always do what they like, but I always try to take their consideration and do what's best for the 25 roster of 25. But I think they're kind of leaders in waiting. If not, some of them have kind of already taken leadership roles. Jessie Clemens is not afraid to speak up. Carly Ford's not afraid to speak up. I think they have the respect of their teammates. And, I just hope that we can continue to foster that growth with the 8 seniors that we have, and kind of do it by committee this year, and have people step up at different times. With a team, you have a lot of different personalities, and some players handled things differently than others. And I think our women do a good job of kind of helping each other with that.
Coach, a double-barreled question here, if you will. What do you feel like the strength of Iowa State softball is in 2026, and what's the biggest remaining question mark as you enter a new season?
I think our strength's experience. I mean, you got McKenna Andrews back in the infield with a couple of years of experience now, actually being a senior, but finding her role at third base. Sydney Malott at first, that we'll talk about. Reagan Bartholomew, even the latter of those two were transfers. They've had a lot of playing time and they blended in well. But I think the experience and the games played that we have in the lineup is going to be a strength of ours. Talk to me about that next year. I'm really attached to this group. They don't know it. I don't show it a lot, but it's been a good bunch. They're great students. They're great people. They've been doing well in the community, both on and off the field, and they're a fun bunch to watch. And it's we'll take it one game at a time, and knock off the rest when we get outside. Obviously, the whole country's in the deep freeze right now, but that's nothing new to us. We're in the deep freeze until March, so we'll be ready. They'll have the intensity. They'll have the experience, and they listen to coaching, and hopefully we'll get off to a little bit faster start than we did last year.
Coach, we know you're a busy man. We appreciate the time you spent with us and giving us some insight and information about this 2026 Cyclone squad. Good luck to you as you push forward.
All right. Appreciate you all. Thanks for what you do for the sport.
You got it. He mentioned that veteran core that Iowa State has. And I'm guessing, Kat, Wild guess here. That has something to do with why you think they're a little underrated in the preseason poll.
100%. I think obviously the veteran core, you have Jesse Clemens, who had one of the best freshman years at Iowa State. They're also anchored in the circle by two upperclassmen with Jaden Ralston and Lauren Sherman, a junior and a senior, or a senior and a junior in their own right. But it's that experience. But he also talked about it. He said, he talked about his leadership, whether he's going to name captains, a council. He talks about that year over year. I could probably go back in notes and tell you it's been Ranchez, it's been Ochoa, it's been Spellhuck. He always has someone. Angelina Allen was part of that as a youngster and obviously graduated last year. So he lets those girls lead. He coaches, but he lets them lead. And I think when you have player-led and you have that many experienced players bought in, as we said, as it grows, it's going to be something special. I think it's the year for Iowa State to do something special.
Let's speak with a couple of those veterans. Sydney Malott and McKenna Andrews join us now from Ames, and we wish them a warm welcome amidst the deep freeze of Ames. Good to see both of you. How you doing today?
Good. Trying to stay warm. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
It is a challenge to stay warm, but hopefully the conversation about the excitement of the season brings some natural warmth and excitement. We imagine that it does. Question for both of you. A team that finished third last year and exceeded expectations, but you show up and you're picked in the back half of the conference again. How do both of you use that as motivation to go out and prove the naysayers wrong, if you will?
Coach Pink said it earlier, we like to fly under the radar. And after our finish last year and seeing that we're 7th this year, we know we're going to have to play with a chip on our shoulder. And I think that's something we do really well. And so using it for motivation isn't really a challenge for us. I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, going off what McKenna said, I think just being able to play with okay, who cares kind of mentality. We go out there and we just play Iowa State softball. And when that happens, good thing happens for us.
I know neither of you are pitchers or really catchers a whole lot, but Jaden Ralston had probably her best outing at Big 12 tournament, the first complete game she's thrown in college. Have you guys seen her and Lauren step up their game just a little bit after the success that they both saw last year in the circle?
Yeah, definitely. This fall has probably been one of the hardest falls that I personally have ever gone through. And I think just as an infielder, but definitely for our pitchers, Coach Kate did a really good job of breaking down each thing that a pitcher needs to work on. And it has only developed them so much more. And we have been scrimmaging a lot against each other and we're ready to play new people, but our pitchers have definitely been challenging us in those scrimmages and it's so much fun to compete against them. But we're super excited to see what they do this year in the circle.
Yeah, with both of them being upperclassmen now, Jaden being a senior and then Lauren being a junior now, it's really cool to see how they're guiding the rest of the bullpen along with them. And so I think them two being as strong as they are, it's going to help the rest of our bullpen be strong as well. And so that's really exciting to see. But yeah, we're really excited to face some other opponents and have them stop striking us out.
Switching over a little bit more to the offensive side, what has been the key focus for the offense as a whole this season, and what is your approach going into the spring?
We know that as a lineup, we're going to have to generate runs. And so just no matter what, having quality at bats and being able to put the ball in play and move runners around, whether that's a ball off the wall or a bunt that's going to move a runner. We focus on all of that stuff, and I think it's something that our coaches really harp on, and it's something that we're going to take into the first game, starting off strong with our offense. We know that we're going to have to do that.
Yeah, I think with the experience that we have coming back in our lineup is going to help us a lot, and it's easy for example, I know whatever I do, the next person behind me is going to either pick me up or if I'm on base, they're going to score me. So that experience is huge, and I think that's going to take us really far this year.
We heard you say we just need to play Iowa State softball. So what is Iowa State softball in 2026 when it's at the highest level?
We just need to be gritty. At the beginning of our season, we have kind of a weird schedule because we're playing indoors, we're practicing indoors, and we know that the first couple weekends we're going to have to come out and just be tough. We have no room to, start out slow, and being tough and starting out hot is the way that we need to do it, and our whole team has kind of understood that, and, that's how it's got to be. Yeah, last year was definitely a little bit disappointing once it got to the end of the season. And all of us returners, we got like a slight taste of what it could have been to make postseason. So I think that is definitely has been our like biggest motivation this fall and coming back in the spring. So I think just like McKenna said, being gritty and doing whatever it takes to get us to that spot that Iowa State hasn't really been at the last couple of years.
Great insight. And great to have both of you with us here as we preview the 2026 season. Correct me if I'm wrong, there are some warm climates in your non-conference schedule that you can look forward to, right?
Yes.
Well deserved. Well, safe travels to you, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
It is a unique challenge when you're in that type of environment. And I know that BYU and Utah in the mountains, and sometimes it takes a while to like thaw and be okay. How much of an advantage is it for schools like Arizona and UCF to be in their climates compared to some of these other schools that are in cold climates?
Well, it's an advantage. Straight out of college, my first job was at DePaul University in Chicago. So we're very similar. We're practicing inside. Yeah, I was telling Rachel earlier, like our head coach would be like, oh, it's above 40. We're going outside. I'm like, this arm doesn't throw BP in 40 degrees. We better go back inside. But it's a challenge because you are inside. Sometimes you're on turf. Sometimes you're having to work on a gym floor. Like you're not on dirt. And I remember there have been a couple times where Coach Pinkerton's been like, well, we actually got on dirt 3 times before opening weekend, and they're celebrating, because they can get out there. So it's an advantage to be in a warm climate because you are on the field, you are in the environment you're going to play in. But I think what coaches that are in the cold weather climates do really well is allow their athletes not to use that as an excuse. They find a way to mimic as much as possible what they can do in game, throwing live, being able to see live pitching and making sure that's the focus. And it's not, whether we're on dirt or whether we're seeing the sun or whatnot. But it's definitely an advantage. And Iowa State can be cold for a long time because I remember way back when we had to play a doubleheader because it was supposed to snow on Sunday, and I was bundled up in every layer of everything we had to have. So it can be cold in conference even when you go to Iowa State.
Let's never question the toughness of softball players and working through the elements. Okay. Fantastic story from Kat. We get to our 6th team of 7 on this opening day of Big 12 Softball Media Days and bring in Amy Hogue, head coach of the University of Utah. Coach, great to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. You look fantastic in that chair there, almost like you're in your softball throne of sorts. You're a coach that's been around the game for a long time and have been to the highest levels and done some things. So to see your team now try and rebuild, what has you most excited about what your team is capable of in 2026?
I love how you talk about rebuilding because that's essentially what we do every year. It's not just this year. This day and age, there's transfers, there's incoming freshmen, you always have returners. So every year's a rebuilding year. But what I love the most is enjoying the newness of it and putting together the puzzle of how to get them to play together and remind them to love the game because they're all really talented and sometimes we forget to have joy out on the field.
Coach, I'm going to go straight to the circle. You have some new faces, some transfers, freshmen. What does that look like for you guys in 2026? Is there a 1 or 2 frontliners and then everyone else is kind of by committee, or is it a go in from the get-go and we're staff approach from day one?
Yeah, well, we've talked about doing any and all of what you just said. So with the amount of arms that we have, we could go with someone that gets hot, or we could right from the get-go mix it up. And I hired a new pitching coach this year, Coach Carl Golan, and he's more of a let somebody ride when they're on a roll. So we have 3 that are kind of emerging at the top that I think we're going to give most of the starts to early and then just kind of see where the rest fall in.
And Coach, last year was the first year for you guys in the Big 12. I know you were super excited to see some new faces, some new locations. I just want to know, what did you learn after that first year, and how does that change your approach going into your second year in the Big 12?
Well, I hope we learned a lot, because the only way that a loss is worth a darn is if you learn something from it. And we lost way more than I was used to in my career. So what I learned in the Big 12 is that they actually have a little different style of play than the Pac-12. The Pac-12 had a little bit more of a run and gun kind of a feel, a lot more speed and stealing and bunt runs and a little bit more of that. And in the Big 12, they just kind of sit back and hit tanks. So I feel like our team this year, with all the new players that we've brought in, matched the style a little more of the Big 12. But I'm telling you, the way I like to coach the game has always been a run and gun. So I'm going to do whatever it is that I need to do in order to win games. And right now we have a mix of both of those things.
Utah head coach Amy Hogue is with us. Coach, you have a wealth of freshmen, 8, I believe, and 5 seniors that you will rely heavily on, understandably. Who do you look to lead out, not just from an on-the-field standpoint, but emotionally for a team that wants to go out and prove something significant?
Yeah, I love that. We have a lot to prove, and we have a lot of new players. We do have 8 freshmen. They showed up in the fall, and they're still here, which, doesn't always happen, but we've got 8 of them. And they are competitive. We signed them, committed them the year that we went to the World Series. So they expected to come in and win games, and they have those same expectations now that they're here. Half of those might start on day one. So a lot of young kids in the lineup on day one. And as far as returners, we're really going to rely on them to give us quite a bit of that maturity that you're talking about, some of the wisdom of what they've learned in the games last year and how to stabilize some really talented freshmen. I'm going to lean upon them. We have 3 captains, Haley White, Emily Capobianco, and then Haley White, who's going to talk to you in a little bit. And the 3 of them are ones that are most stable kids in the group and have enough experience to help us ride through some of the storms that freshmen always give us.
Coach, we talked about your 8 freshmen, and I know 2 of those bring some power. Can you talk about those freshmen? The ones you said 4, half of them, so 4 could probably be in the starting lineup. Can you talk about which ones have stood out to you so far and what they bring to the table for your Utah team?
Yeah, you know one of them well because you coached her. Izzy Cruz is slated to start at third base and has a lot of power. And I can't wait to see her settle in. When she played in the summer for you, she was a lot more free and light, and we're trying to settle her in and so she can get out of her head a little bit. But she had a great fall, really showed what she can do, and starting to loosen up. Peyton Crank is another one that's been slated in the lineup pretty much every day. And she's in the outfield somewhere. We don't know where yet, but hits the ball a ton, runs well, all the things. And I think, we have a couple more. They've been rotating quite a bit, but they're all powerful hitters. Sion Noli from Arizona and Mia Gomez rounds out the 4, and they're all power hitting players that I hope they can settle in nicely and bring us some of those pieces we were missing from last year's group.
Yeah, I know we're all excited to see some young freshman talent on your team this year, but I want to talk a little bit more about Kennedy Proctor, who had a great season last year, and also Shanti Posse, some of your key returners. What are you liking out of them this offseason?
Yeah, the 2 of them needed every game last year to start to settle in. And I think by the end, they were playing their best ball and learning the most about themselves as an athlete. So they didn't skip a beat. As soon as they got here in the fall, they were ready to go. Same place they were at the end of the season last year and have settled in nicely, both of them. I think that they're both phenomenal hitters. They've earned their way into the lineup every day, and it's just a matter of keeping them steady and consistent. They're really hard on themselves, especially Proctor. And so we've got a couple of positions for her. Shanti's been settling mostly at short, but Proctor's kind of moved around quite a bit, trying to get some other hitters in the lineup. She's the most versatile one. So we're teaching her a new position and challenging her to be a little bit of everything for what the team needs. So, but yeah, they're both raring to go.
Amy Hogue, 19 seasons as Utah's head coach. We appreciate your time, and you've got the Utes back on the rise. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Amy and Utah, they know what has been issued in the preseason poll. They know the challenge that is out there. So, and she's frank about, like, we're young. We've got a lot of question marks. It's hard to keep players in the transfer portal. So what do you see to be the key for Utah to surprise some people and jump up those standings?
Yeah, I think she mentioned it a few times, and it's going to be those youngsters being able to settle in and play genuinely who they are. It's not worry about, oh, are you playing OU? Are you playing whoever? Like, not as, honestly, Iowa State said we play Sally. Like, it's who are you playing? Take that out of the equation. Can you play your game? Because as a freshman, you have to come in, find your game, keep your feet under you. If you get sped up too far ahead, then all of a sudden, season's halfway over and you're trying to catch your breath. So it's for her, you can tell that she's going to rely on some of those youngsters because they do have a talented group in that freshman group. They have 2 athletes who have a lot of power. They have others who can come in and play multiple positions. So she has the ability to allow those youngsters to really be difference makers, but they're going to have to settle in.
She referenced how important the veterans are going to be on this squad to try and help those newcomers get acclimated into what Utah softball is. And joining us now are 2 of those vets, Shelby Jones and Haley White. Good to see both of you as we preview Utah softball. We were just talking about the challenge that lies ahead of you and the added motivation of being picked last in the conference. So how do you 2 view that through the lens of getting ready for a season and use it as motivation?
Yeah, I would say that our team is basically main goal is effort and excellence. I think that with all the newcomers, we have our freshmen, we have our transfers. I think we're all realizing that being together as a unit and working alongside each other is going to give us our best chance. I really believe that everyone who's come in loves the game of softball, which for us was the most important part. We all love to go to the field. We all love to get in the extra work. And I'm really excited to see just what all of our newbies can contribute to all of our returners and see how the season goes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And even being ranked last, that gives us like extreme motivation to push past these teams that are ahead of us. And nothing's better than a comeback story or an underdog story. So what better than that?
Well, you 2 both obviously know Utah has had a ton of success in the past, and getting back to that, a lot of times that will start in the circle. And Shelby, I know you're in the bullpen, and you guys have quite a few arms. So what has the bullpen looked like this offseason, and what excites you about your pitching staff?
What excites me the most is that we have a variety. Like, there's no one pitcher that's the same. It's been really fun. We've been all working together, figuring out how to complement each other and just really work as a pitching unit to all be effective together, no matter who's in the circle or who's picking up the ball behind each other.
And both of you guys are upperclassmen this year. Like you said, bringing in a lot of freshmen. What exactly are you doing to take them under your wing and bring them into the team? Because we all know that you guys are going to need them on the field this year.
Yeah, I would say a huge thing is teaching these freshmen that it's okay to fail. I think that a lot of them are really hard on themselves. And personally, we always are just saying, if you fail, that means that you're learning something. Like, if you fail, that means that there's something that you can do better the next time. And I think that these kids have really, starting from the fall to now, we've already seen a huge improvement, huge growth, maturity. We always talk about, being mature, whether it's at bats, on the field, just your presence overall. And honestly, I just really think that these kids are just going to learn that this game isn't always as easy as it seems. And, having one good game and you might have, not so good the next one. And I just think that they need to be able to keep calm in any storm. And I think that we'll have each other's backs, which is the most important part.
A question for both of you now. What do you feel is the most underrated aspect of Utah softball this season?
Good question.
I think the most underrated is that I feel like we talk a lot about our freshmen, but I feel like it's us and our freshmen working together, especially our captains and returners and our seniors. We have a really good group of seniors this year, and they're really leading by example to work well with that freshman group to really lead them into leading us for this season, I think.
building on that a little bit after last season, I'm going to ask, what was the message, you guys as a collective whole, what is the message, the motto, the buy-in that you guys are, that's tying all of you guys together?
We keep saying one word, and it's pretty much brought up in every practice, and it's excellence. Being able to just be okay with being all right and, mediocre is something that we're not really striving for. We're striving for something bigger, something better, greatness, and, putting in extra work, trying and failing, and then getting right back up and doing it again until you find that you've seen improvement. I think that's going to be our biggest thing this year. And I just really think that you'll see and you'll hear around our team, like that word gets passed along a lot. And it's just a good reminder. I think it's super important to keep that environment and that positive aspect always.
All right, and last question for you guys. I just want to know, who are you most excited to face off against this season?
I think you already know our answer. We're at home this year. I'm really excited for, a little good throwback of our games of last year. I think they didn't go the way we wanted to down in BYU, but I think having the home field advantage this year is going to be our go. I know that our crowd's going to be a little bit wild this year, and I think that we're ready to red versus blue.
Let's go. Long live the rivalry. I'm here for all of it, and I love that you went there and brought that energy to this conversation. Good luck to both of you and to the Utes in 2026.
Thank you very much, guys. Go Utes.
All right. Utah, everything to prove. And sometimes that can mean problems for opponents, right? When you are playing with joy and they're clearly focused on that and playing with nothing to lose and that mentality, just saying they could catch some teams off guard.
I had a boss once that said when a team has a special why, when whatever that defines in, and a lot of times coming off a season the way Utah had and having motivation to prove that they're better than that, that's a special why that can drive a team. And I think we heard Utah talk about it. Their why is to basically put Utah back on the map.
And I love the rivalry dynamic.
I love that they mentioned that, because obviously that is when you know that they are bleeding red and obviously rivals blue, but they are ready for it because they're already looking on rivalry day.
Okay, so with that in mind, Rachel, what other rivalries do you like the most in the Big 12? Hard not to want to go to Arizona State.
I know. That was my first instinct, Arizona State. Honestly, I like the Oklahoma State-Iowa State rivalry. I feel like
I was about to go there.
Oklahoma State hates playing Iowa State because Iowa State is so scrappy and they always find ways to beat the Cowgirls every single year, it seems like. So I really like that rivalry, and I'm excited to see that play out this year.
Great stuff. All right, team number 7. I can't believe that we're already to the last team of this day. It has been fast and furious, no doubt about it. It is Baylor and their head coach, Glenn Moore. And Coach, correct me if my eyes are seeing something weird. Is that ice out there beyond the fence in Waco?
Oh, yeah. This is pretty normal for Waco, right? We've had nothing but cold weather for the last 3 or 4 days. Hard to practice, but it's softball season.
Coach, your team's picked to finish 8th, and I know that won't probably sit well with the women on your team. But as we've asked several other teams today that have been picked in the back half of conference, what's the proper approach and observation of these preseason polls that get so jumbled by the time this thing is all over?
Yeah, I think I would have picked us in that area too. It's last year I went from having the most veteran team that I've probably ever had here to this year having the youngest team. 18 of our roster members are sophomore and freshmen. Wow. And there's so many unknowns. It's certainly the youngest team I've ever coached, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So I'm very excited about our challenges ahead of us, and I think our girls will, with what we've done here at Baylor over the years, they expect to be in the top half, and I think it'll be just one more match to light our fire and do what a coach would, like them to do, get motivated.
Coach, I'm gonna go straight to the circle. You were very active in the portal, grabbing 2 arms. You get Casey West back, which she's a two-way player, but you've been able to use her in the circle in the past. Talk about what your pitching staff is looking like as you go into 2026.
So a lot of unknowns still because, we have 2 transfers in that we expect big things out of. Have a couple returning, as you know, keeping up with us last year. We started the year off in great shape and had, I thought, the best team I'd ever put on the field. And then we lost all of our pitching, basically, and we're relying on Lily Walker, who we thought would be a closer and number 3 type pitcher to pitch nearly every game for us. So since that's kind of the name of the game, you're not going to have great success without that, no matter who you have around them. And this year we have some arms that have a little rust on them, but we're proven coming out of high school and travel ball to be a couple of really good arms. So Coach Newman is a magician when it comes to developing pitchers, and we think they've had a good fall. We think it's going to take some time for them to get their mojo back, if you will, and certainly they're young and haven't had success at this level, so time will tell. But we get Casey West back. Sadie Ross had just been released last year, a week before the season, with her 3rd ACL surgery. She's probably our highest velo pitcher and good down ball pitcher and great changeup. So we're expecting big things out of her as well. And I'm going to have 5 arms in the bullpen to start the year off with anyway. So we're excited about our depth there. We traditionally don't have a lot of pitching depth because of the cost of education and the number of scholarships that we have. So we rely on that help. So this year we're excited about having more arms, and we'll probably have to use them all in every game, but we're excited about that.
And Coach, offensively, you lost some power and big bats to graduation. So I just want to know, what is your offense looking like this season?
So, we lost a lot of power last year during the middle of the season. We were warming up to play Oklahoma State, and we had a ball go off Aaliyah Cran's hand and lost her for a month. One of our better hitters in our lineup, Shaylin Govin, had Taria Coleman protecting her. Taria was outstanding, but got a concussion out in California before we even started Big 12. Never really got back in rhythm, and Shaylin didn't get pitched to throughout the year because of that, we thought. So had some things break down around some of our big hitters, and I think what we're more optimistic this year, we don't have the names yet that people are going to recognize, but throughout our lineup we have solid hitters, and we got a little bit more depth to those hitters, waiting their turn as well. I feel more comfortable going to the bench and pulling someone off the bench to pinch hit. We're going to have a little bit more speed this year. I don't know what our lineup will look like, by mid-March, but it usually changes a little bit. But I'm excited about, 1 through 7 in our lineup, I think, and we'll turn some heads. We've got some good sticks. Samaya Jones coming in is, one of the top middle infielders coming out of high school in the country. Brooklyn Carter, Keegan Marshall will be you'll know her name well before this is all over with. And Olivia Bittner is kind of a no-name right now, but she's one of the purest hitters that we've had here. Again, all young and have to prove themselves with this level of pitching, but that's not a big concern of mine.
Coach, I'm going to zoom out for this question, and it's based on the youth that your team has and trying to keep a core together to grow old again so that you can be great. But with NIL and the transfer portal and the recruiting world shifting seemingly by the day, how do you feel it's impacting the sport and what you're trying to do at Baylor?
Yeah, well, it impacted our pitching last year. We saw that, so it's just year to year. You never know what's going to happen. So we are kind of living in a year-to-year recruiting mode, and that's why we're so bottom-heavy right now with so many freshmen and sophomores. I think you just recruit in the moment, and what's available you go get, and next year you regroup, and it's more of a 2-year junior college approach, in my opinion, and utilize the portal to your ability the best you can, and tap into the travel ball in high school to fill the voids right now. I don't know if that's the right philosophy or not. That's ours. So much of it has to do with how much you can, how many players you can buy nowadays. And I don't know that we're in the hunt with the big dogs there. In fact, I know we're not. But, there's still a method to this madness that we're trying to figure out and capitalize on the best way possible. And, for this year in particular, although we're young, I'm pretty happy with the way the portal worked out in our favor. Just a lot of, probably unknowns right now that will make a name for themselves.
We wish you sincerely the best of luck from snowy Waco and getting into some warmer climates, Coach. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Great. Thanks for having me.
All right, Glenn Moore. I mean, he's been around a long time, Kat. He has seen a lot.
Do you want me to date that? Because he recruited me. So he's been around. He moved to Baylor in the middle of my recruitment year. So yes,
wow.
Coach Moore and I go way back. But he's been there. He's seen it all, though. So when you hear him talk about having from what he thought was going to be his best team last year and injuries and pitching, obviously leaving, hindered that to one of his most young teams. But if there's anything, he knows how, and I think you hear him talk, he knows how to keep a realistic view on season. While he might be excited, he's not going to go out and be like, oh, this is the best young team. He's realistic about come mid-March, we could look completely different than what I think we look like right now.
And how often when you talk about freshmen and even some sophomores that are getting some additional game time, do we hear the phrase, well, you don't know what you don't know? Like, and you're in the moment, and sometimes it's just like, yeah, this is what I do, and I'm awesome, and it's great, and they don't feel the pressure because they are so young, Rachel.
Exactly, and that's the best thing about being a freshman is you're in this whole new world, and you're just playing softball like you did all throughout travel ball, all throughout younger years, and just having fun with your teammates. And I think as the years go on, you tend to put pressure on yourself and worry about outside expectations a little bit, but you're so right. The freshman year, you never know how that's going to look, and Coach Moore might have an awesome team at the end of the year, might end up at the top of the Big 12. We have no idea.
That is what makes this so fabulous, is just the anticipation and the question marks, and we're ready to start the games if you can't tell. As are two outstanding veteran players for Baylor. Yeah, they have some great veterans as well, and they join us now. They are senior outfielder Brooklyn Carter and senior infielder Amber Tovin. Good to have both of you with us as we preview Baylor softball. How are you?
Hi, doing good. How are you?
Well, we're good, and we have to start because the weather has been so crazy, and we're seeing snow on your field. But how has that changed the dynamic of your preparation in January in usually warm Waco?
Yeah, I think especially because it's getting kind of close to season, we've been practicing a lot indoors, I would say. But yesterday was like our first day outside with the snow. We still had some snow in the outfield, but we were making it work. The infielders were doing their thing, and outfielders were just, working, especially because season's coming right up, like I said. So we're just working and being where our feet are.
Well, I have two questions for you. First is, Amber, are you going to be okay without Presley Pylon in the middle infield? Because you two, I feel like, have been a tandem forever, and Coach Moore always talks about you guys in a tandem. And then two, you guys are so young. Talk about just your youngsters, the athletes you've brought in. Are any of the freshmen and or transfers standing out to you guys?
Yes, but I think that me and Faith being in the middle infield is going to be just as great. She's got great hands. I trust her every time we go on the field at practice. We're making fun plays. It's it's flowing as smoothly as it can, and kind of just feels like we haven't missed a beat. So I'm excited about that. And then I think talking about the freshmen and what we expect, I think that, again, Coach Moore touched base on it, but Kagan Marshall is a really, really good hitter. She impressed us from like the first ball game that we had. I think she hit, back-to-back home runs her first two at-bats, and our jaws were on the floor. Like, this girl is crazy good.
The girl, she could hit.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Especially seeing her flourish, and she's not really a middle or first baseman, but she's been playing a little bit of first, and seeing her grow and doing that, it's very inspiring to see. And a couple of other freshmen too, watching them, it's just like, dang, I was in that place before, watching them just grow and being, a Baylor softball player, it's inspiring.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple of them that can really hit the ball, and I would say Gianna Guzman is one of those. It's a California girl, so we love her. We don't have many of those on our team, but yeah, all of them are pretty awesome.
And Brooklyn and Amber, you guys are both seniors this year for the softball team. I just want to know, what is the legacy that your senior class wants to leave Baylor after the end of this season?
Legacy. I would say mostly just, like I said, like being where your feet are, playing for something bigger than you. I think that's really, really important. And being on the field, just especially at Getterman Stadium, like it's so like, it's beautiful, it's eye-opening, and just playing for, you know, the little girls that are watching in the stands, your family, and especially God. I think that's really just a legacy I want to leave behind. And I don't know about you, but
yeah, no, I think you kind of hit it on the nail. But there's a lot of tradition and a lot of history here at Baylor with Coach Moore being the head coach for so many years. And so I think just honoring him and all the hard work he's put in and leaving the program better than we found it is very important to us. And also just kind of guiding the younger class, because again, we do have a very young team. And so they're kind of all just like sponges. And it's important for us to make sure that it's instilled in them that they understand how Baylor softball operates, what our morals and core values are, and just letting that kind of bleed into every other class that comes in.
Goal setting, especially for a young team, is obviously critical. So if you could pull back the curtain a little bit and give us some insight into what the team goals are this season, where have you set those?
I would say our goal is definitely to make it as far as we can. Like, I think our team being a really young team, like we're kind of like the underdogs. Like we don't have a lot of seniors. We don't have a lot of experience, but guiding the freshmen and just like holding their hand along the way, I think that's really going to just make us go further than what we even thought we can go. So, yeah.
I think from a defensive standpoint, every year it's kind of a goal of ours to break the double play record that we have here at Baylor. We did that, I think it was 3 years ago. Yeah, oh my gosh, so many years I kind of forget. But yeah, that's usually a big goal for us. Also, the fielding percentage is also a big deal for us. We take a lot of pride every single day, working hard in infield, outfield, team D, all those things. And so watching that be applied on the field, that's a big goal for us.
And like Coach Moore said, we have more depth, especially like speed and pitching. So I would say more short game, like more bunts, more like moving runners, especially like when the game is not going as we were planning offensively, but just like making more adjustments, whether it's bunting, slapping, putting it, you know, just making, I don't know, better decisions offensively when we're struggling. So I think that's going to be like a big thing for us this year, just having a lot of versatility within the lineup.
Brooklyn, I'm guessing that more speed play and stealing bases is something that you're on board for.
Yes, I am, of course. And Coach Moore, so.
Hey, 22 for 25 on the bases last year. Awesome. Both of you are outstanding players. We're looking forward to watching you. Best of luck to you and the Bears in the Big 12.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't believe we are 2 hours into this. Like,
Flew by.
It did fly by.
We're not done yet. We got another day tomorrow. But just to wrap up this opening day, Kat, after having talked with 7 teams, what stands out to you? Did anybody catch you by surprise, or maybe did you learn something that you weren't anticipating?
I think I'm gonna go to our leadoff with Arizona. You can tell they're hungry. They finished second. They believe they can compete for first. And you listen to them talking about getting to what it means to represent the A and be a Wildcat. And obviously tradition is very, very rich there, not necessarily in the Big 12 conference yet, but when you talk about the softball landscape, and they have somebody who knows what that is as a player now leading them as their head coach. And so you can almost see that they're hungry to get back to being the Arizona standard. And that's exciting.
Yeah. Rachel, essentially the same question for you. From the 7 interviews we did, what stood out?
What stood out to me the most is how many question marks these coaches still have across their lineup. I think we heard from Baylor, Utah, Oklahoma State, they're still moving players around, and we start softball next week. So I think that just goes to show you that this season is going to have a lot of change. Players are going to have to adapt, and it's the preparation that you do in the off season that will get you ready for that.
4 teams tomorrow. Obviously, the headliner, Texas Tech, is going to generate a lot of interest. What are you excited to learn from the Red Raiders specifically?
Well, I'm excited to talk to Jerry Glasgow about how all those pieces are meshing together. He was a coach of mine in professional ball, and maybe that experience is going to help him here, because a lot of times, for lack of a better term, you get a lot of talented people or a lot of egos, and you have to mesh them to be a team and be able to play together under a culture. So asking him how are all those pieces meshing to put the puzzle together instead of just being really quality pieces.
Rachel, we'll have you add your thoughts to that as well.
No, that's exactly what I'm excited to find out about. And Texas Tech usually hope to get, one All-American in. They got 3. And that is just wild. And pairing that with Nigeri Kennedy, Maya Davis, Lauren Allred, experienced players at Texas Tech, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. So just excited to talk to them face to face.
Something legit happening in Lubbock right now. Not just in football and basketball, right? The softball team, they are putting the Red Raiders on the map.
As a brother, or as someone who has a brother that's a Red Raider graduate, I hear about it all the time. So Lubbock is special now, and not sure that a lot of the Big 12 agreed with that statement for a while.
A good way to put a bow on day one of Big 12 softball media days. For the great Kat Osterman and Rachel Becker, I'm Spencer Linton. We'll see you back here tomorrow for day 2.